Welcome back to Dime Gaming Bros. This is season 4, episode 2. Holy shit. I'm one of your co-hosts, Spencer, joined by Jacob.
Hello. You did that only to take a sip.
Maybe I did. Maybe I like sipping on my tea. I'm starting to drink my tea like an Englishman. Don't judge me. Judge me harder, please. I come. Speaking of judging, I played a game, and you're gonna judge me for it. I think.
I don't think so.
I think you do in your own little way in your mind. I played Life is Strange Double Exposure, which is another Life is Strange game. Yeah, so like, you know, these are my like special interest type games, even when they're not very good. It came out last year. It is episodic, but it was released all in one go, so it's just formatted as episodes. Same thing that happened with True Colors, the last main Life is Strange game. They're moving forward with this format, which speaks well. It's published by Square Enix, but it is developed by Deck 9, who are now like the custodians of the franchise. It's the 4th main installment, and it is a direct-ish sequel to the original game from 2015. The plot follows Max Caulfield, the protagonist from the first game, who is now 28 and in grad school. She's on like a photography art major, which is pretty cool, honestly. And she has new powers. So in the first game, it was rewinding time, and then there was a brief stint of hopping into a separate timeline. This game is all timeline shenanigans. Basically, the primary plot is her new setting of friends at college. Some of them are colleagues, some of them are other students. She's also a teacher's assistant, as you are typically when you're in like grad school. So there's a wide variety of students. There's some faculty, and you get acquainted with her new group of friends. You're out doing photography, all that stuff. And her best friend gets moited by a gunshot. It's very interesting because of plot shenanigans. And it's like, okay, cool, a student died. That student also happens to be the daughter of the not headmister, but like the head of the school. I can't remember the name. That's like brain, whatever the fuck. The head of the school is a woman, for one. So it's interesting. She's a Christian Arab woman. So it's a change in tone for the school. You can get all the implications you want out of that. And then her daughter is friends with Max. She winds up dead during some weird shit, and weird shit starts happening. Your brain goes cuckoo banana, as it does in these games. And you then go on a murder mystery to try to solve what the fuck happened. So Max has suppressed her time rewind abilities because of the events of the first game, where you either have to kill your best friend / lover or sacrifice the entire town you live in because her powers manifest like a hurricane of consequences. Very heavy-handed metaphors, etc. This game intends on honoring both endings of the first game, and that's actually a lot of the controversy around this game. And I think it's kind of dumb because so in my multiple playthroughs of Life is Strange, I always save the town because I'm not an asshole. Your love interest in that game is not like the best person in the world. She's a teenager, big deal. Like, people are messy. So the game, the playthrough that I had of Double Exposure is the ending that I let her die, the town is fine. So that actually flowed really well for this game because now it has like relationship trauma and trying to develop new love interests, which these games are kind of known for. There's always romance options, and I feel like that actually worked really well. I only have done the one playthrough, so I haven't done it with the I wiped out an entire town ending, but the big controversy with that is you still end up breaking up with that girl anyways, like between games, so it kind of like it does cuck out, which I understand why, because of what this game wants to do, but because the fan base for this game is rabid. It's been around for 10 years. This is like it was 2015 Tumblr, and that still describes these games in like the best way. So like the fan base just grew so attached to Chloe, the love interest of the first game, that's just unfeasible and seems out of character and all that stuff. So I didn't have to worry about any of that, so I just don't really care. So yeah, you solve the mystery by going around campus, talking to your friends, professors, other teachers' assistants, and at some point you like forcefully unlock, you try to use your rewind ability, which you haven't used in 10 years, and it doesn't work. But then somehow you can alternate between two different timelines, one where your friend is not murdered and the one where she is. So then you have to use information from both timelines to solve different mysteries and different plot lines that are interweaving to try to figure out what's going on. Any more specific than that, I feel like, is just like unnecessary nitty gritty, but that's how like the plot overview. The big gripe that I have with the plot is not the mechanics of how the two timelines work. I actually really, really, really enjoyed it for the sake of acting different around different characters. Like, say you can romance one character in one timeline and a different one in a different timeline, but I guess the only real spoiler, at the end of the game, they get smushed, and now everyone has both memories, and it's really fucking awkward. Like, no matter how the game plays out, everyone has to then deal with having multiple overlapping memories. Max has been exposed as having powers because of plot stuff, as well as another character I won't get into. And she stays in this Vermont college town for sequel bait, of course, and to try to find more people like her that have these weird abilities to try to, I don't know, guide them. She's putting together a team. You know how it is. It's a really good ending for that. There is a little bit at the end that I don't appreciate. It's not necessarily a post-credit scene, but it's after the epilogue that I just thought was kind of stupid. But it does seem that this team wants to return to Max at some point. Maybe it won't be the next game, but they might do it sometime in the future. Maybe they'll bring the other characters in, something like that. And on the one hand, the fact that they're mostly anthology games is really cool because they all have different powers that are used differently, and they're very thematically tied to the character. You know, Max is a photographer. She likes taking photos and like freezing time, so it makes sense that she can rewind it and then have to learn consequences about, like, you actually do have to make choices and stick with it, and so on and so forth for all the characters in the games. So I'm not sure how they would manage to put them all in the same game, but that'd be kind of cool. I would at least give them props for trying. So the vast majority of the subplots or side plots of other characters and their worlds, I did think were pretty well fleshed out this time around. You have a couple of best friends. Obviously, one dies. And then the other one is, in the most respectful way possible, like the definition of the like chunky black nerd dude. He's great. I love him. He's like a big STEM guy. He's there for like astronomy. He's always assembling telescopes, stuff like that. He's a really cool character. He's literally me, but if I was cooler. So you have that. You have some interpersonal drama between some of the staff at the college based on a previous tragedy that happened at the school that you then kind of unfurl as the plot goes along. Turns out that this murder has basically nothing to do with what you think it does, as any good mystery, I guess. And I think that they were all actually woven together pretty well and fairly well developed. There is one character which I do have mixed feelings on. There is another professor at the school. He's kind of a dirtbag, not like a mega dirtbag, but he's kind of pompous. He's a writer. He just published a book that's relevant to the plot. I won't get into that. But there are hints at him having not great relationships with students. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Not like super duper bad, but it's kind of a callback to the first game where the antagonist was one of your professors who was like kidnapping and torturing and taking photos of teenage girls, which is really heavy subject matter, which does kind of come up in this game towards the end. But the game simultaneously wants to make you remember that, but then not do it over again. And I just don't really know how I feel about it. I just haven't really sorted out how either I would have improved it to be more subtle or less subtle, because it doesn't treat it with the same level of weight, because the primary driving factor of the story is frankly nowhere near that serious as comparison to the first game. There is murder involved in this one, but like this does not end with like you being kidnapped and put in a basement, so the stakes are just different, which I think is nice as a change of pace. It's not trying to go for the same beats, but it just doesn't always land super well. Gameplay is basically an improvement on True Colors, which I ranted about on like the first episode of this show. For the most part anyways, your general walking around click and point type stuff. I think the conversation options are a lot better this time around. It's not as binary options, and a lot of them don't go anywhere. It's not like every conversation has to be directly related to a quest line, or if you don't do this part of this conversation that one time, you'll just miss out on this entire other sub puzzle basically, or something like that. So I think it's a lot more well integrated. The area that the game takes place over is less open than in True Colors, whereas that was a small town, and then like it was like the main strip of a small town, and pretty much all of the stores and homes on that strip were accessible. This one is on a campus, but you're limited to the art building because like that's your major, that's where all your friends are, and like a couple of rooftops, and like what's it called, the front lawn, but not literally. It's a term for college. It's like that big open thing in the front. Sometimes there's like a pond or a lake or whatever, like one of those, and you're kind of limited to that. So it gives the illusion of being around the same size, but I do think it's actually smaller, and I think that works in its favor. It feels more focused. The time ability, you can hit the left bumper to like glance into the other timeline. So like one timeline is blue and one is orange. So if you're in the blue timeline and you hit the button, then it'll show you where the characters are in the orange timeline as like holograms basically. So you can that's useful for puzzles or trying to figure out information that you need, all that sort of stuff. And then at certain points in the game, there are like a spot where the curtain is thin. Basically, mostly it's a loading screen. Like in areas where there aren't people, like you go in a bar, which is another part of the setting, and you go to the bathroom, like little hallway, and then you can hit right bumper, I believe, and then switch timelines. It's obviously partially for the sake of not having a loading screen, and also so they don't have to rapidly reset assets while you're looking at them. It just makes for a much cleaner experience, and it also makes sense because you at this time are not trying to use your powers in front of people. So I think that just generally works out really well. The soundtrack and score is really good. I do think it's not quite as good as True Colors was. Some of that is just personal bias. I have stronger feelings for that game, but most of the soundtrack for this one was put together, like the folk Life is Strange ass music, you know what it is, was done by Tessa Rose Jackson, who is really talented, so that was really good. There's a few other songs thrown in there, but she does the majority of the original like lyrical work. The background score is solid, nothing too crazy, just good vibe setting, but nothing too far beyond that. I think True Colors had an advantage because the game was a lot more focused on you being a musician and you had emotion-based powers, so it made sense that music was a lot more thoroughly incorporated. This came out for the actual current generation of consoles, PS5, Xbox Series, Windows, and the Switch port came out like a month later. So we're finally moving on from last gen consoles. I think it warrants it. It's not a particularly mind-blowing game in terms of graphics. It continues with the art style change from True Colors of, I would say, more, not photorealism, but a lot more, I don't want to say plain because that doesn't sound right. That sounds like a negative, but it's less cartoony and less like pencil or ink on paper, because they're able to do, I believe, motion capture for a lot of the performances. It feels more alive, which is cool. It was also done in Unreal Engine 5, so that's a good example of that finally like breaking into current game releases. I played it on the Series X. In terms of tech problems, I had minimal, no crashes, no freezing. I did at a few points have some serious pop in during pre-rendered cutscenes, or they might be like generated in the moment. Honestly, it's always hard to tell which one's which because all of the pre-renders are done in the same engine as the gameplay, which is a big favorite of mine. So there is definitely pop in during those moments, but nothing super distracting. It's not like anyone's walking around without their hair or their face isn't working or anything like that. Really good audio performances in terms of technical recording quality, as well as just like actual vocal performances. It was really nice to hear Max Caulfield's voice again, but as like an adult or an older adult, closer in age to where I am now. It was a really good internal dialogue. The only other notes I think I have is this had some really weird DLC stuff. There are no expansions. Some of the games previously have had like little add-on epilogues, like True Colors. This one has a deluxe edition for extra skins for your character, different sweaters and jackets, and that's dumb, but whatever. It's like $20 for a few extra skins, so it's pretty steep, but I don't really care because I didn't buy it. And also the base outfits are all really good. The vibes in these games are always on point. And there is another DLC, which is incredibly strange. It is one extra side mission that is about a missing cat. I don't know why this was DLC. I have no fucking clue. I did buy it and then just play it because I wanted to. It only adds 2 achievements to your achievement list. And it takes like 5 minutes if you know where to go. I don't know what they were thinking with that. It seemed like a marketing gimmick almost, so they could advertise there being a cat in the game, but you actually have to pay for the cat. That was pretty dumb. The bigger issue was that this is one of the games that is starting this new trend of paying more for early release, not for playing beta testing or like open testing, but just if you buy the more expensive version, you can play the game like up to a week early or something like that. And I think that's dog shit for many reasons, but primarily because when it comes to a game like this, where the people who want to play it are there for the story, they don't want to be spoiled, they want to go in fresh, it makes FOMO. So it's like, oh shit, some people could have played this earlier than me. I can't go online. I can't go on my Twitter. I can't go on my fucking Reddit account because then the people that paid for it are going to be talking about the game before me. And I think that that's a really, really scummy practice that I really hope does not continue with other games, but I'm sure it will.
To be fair, though, Twitter is on its way out. And
this is true.
Reddit subs are usually pretty good about marking things as spoilers or not.
I get that. Like it's less a personal issue. It's more of like that's why they're doing it, is to make you pay more just to play it a little earlier. It's not for any other updates. It's not to work out any kinks. It's not like it's an early access. It's just you can play it early if you give us another $20. And that's shit. As far as I know, there is no story DLC or follow-ups planned for this, which I think is a good idea just based on where the game ends. I believe there's another team at Deck 9 working on another game. I have no further details. So yeah, this was very good. It was a good time. I had fun. It did not, as these games try to do, get me super emotionally engaged. I think that some of that is just the subject matter of the game does not get under my skin so much. It's also not necessarily intended to. But I had a really good time. I did care for the characters, which is always like a good indicator of your story-based game having good writing, is caring about the characters. The plot was good for the most part. The ending is just really weird on how it resolves the supernatural, superpowered elements. It ends in a weird spot. It's very odd. I think in my list of Life is Strange games, I think that this is on the same level as Life is Strange 2 ? So like strong B, low A tier. The first game and True Colors are neck and neck for S tier. Despite any criticisms, you can't convince me otherwise. The Before the Storm prequel game is a favorite of mine, despite the fact that the fan base hates it. So that one's also A tier. So this one's somewhere around the middle. It worked well. It played well. I had a good time. I do want to go back at some point to get some additional achievements and do another playthrough of just very different options, romancing different people, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not in a rush. I've moved on to other things. So, meh. I bought it on sale digitally for, I believe, $40 for the base version of the game. So, I could have waited, but I'm okay with the price. I'm not mad that I paid as much as I did for it. My total playtime was, I believe, about 15 hours or so of actual time in game, not just it running on my Xbox while I go pee. So yeah, that's that.
Excellent. So the clickbait title is, this is possibly the worst Life is Strange game you've played. Or your least favorite?
Oh yeah, that's we're really big fans of clickbait titles here.
Oh yeah.
I don't put out the most robotic, clean cut titles of everything all the time.
This is from PCMag.com. Sony has canceled 2 unannounced live service games under its PlayStation banner, according to a new report. A Sony spokesperson confirmed the cancellations to Bloomberg, saying that the games were canceled after a recent review. The new titles were being made at US-based Sony subsidiaries Bend Studio and Bluepoint Games, respectively, before they were canceled, but neither studio is being shut down. Other PlayStation games will continue to be developed in the future, but it's unclear whether any employees at either studio might be laid off. While one of the games was believed to be a live service multiplayer God of War title, Bend Studios' canceled game may have been a third-person military shooter.
Ooh.
I thought this was very funny. They said, oh shit, Concord was bad. We should maybe cut back on the live service games. Those aren't doing well.
Yes, agreed. Also, I don't even want to know how the fuck they were going to try to make God of War multiplayer live service.
It was stupid, and that's what everybody's been saying the whole time. It's like, what are you doing? Nobody wants this. And it seems something finally got through.
Yeah, I agree. That's real weird. It is also cool that it seems like the studios aren't getting shut down, and they may or may not lay people off. Yeah. Usually when they are going to lay people off or close the studios, they just say it right out the gate. So they'll probably just get pushed over to other smaller studios, and
I knew Blue Point Games. They're one of the big ones for PlayStation. They use them. God of War Ragnarok, Demon Souls remake, Shadow of the Colossus, Gravity Rush remake, Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, Metal Gear Solid collection. Yeah, they do well. It would be very, very, very dumb to close them.
For sure. From IGN.com, Sony has revealed its movie adaptation of beloved PlayStation horror game Until Dawn will feature a new story and cast of characters separate from the original games. Ashley Brooks, the president of Sony's film division Screen Gems, said during a CES 2025 presentation that Until Dawn will still respect the source material. However, an actor, Pete Stormare, who played Dr. Hill in the original game and plays an unknown character in the film, said this approach works for dedicated fans and newcomers. I have been lucky to be part of Until Dawn since the original incredible, super terrifying game, and that's why I'm excited to be a part of this film, because the whole thing is a love letter to horror and it completely honors the spirit of the game, Stormare said. The movie is going to be full of fresh characters and victims in a brand new story mode loaded with twists, so whether you're a long-time fan or discovering it for the first time, get ready for Until Dawn like you've never seen it before. I think the trailer looked really fucking good.
I think it'll be fine. I hope it's not Edge of Tomorrow, Groundhog Day, like doing the same thing on repeat, because that shit gets old quick. I hope they can expand upon it.
I definitely get the hesitance on that one. I think the thing that I like about that is it feels like the resetting time every night based on who died and then they all come back to life thing feels like a nice kind of meta nod to like gameplay in a sense of like running multiple playthroughs, which seems neat. But I would say I think Edge of Tomorrow is actually a good example of doing that, because then through each run through you have to learn new information and go down different paths. Also, banger movie. Fuck you. Good movie.
We've disagreed on this before.
This is true. So I don't know. I think that's a neat concept. The visuals look pretty solid. It looks like some of the creatures from Until Dawn are in the game, so it's not like it's completely and wholly original. And I do trust that David F. Sandberg has a good amount of control over this one. He's a director I do quite like. He makes good horror movies. So it definitely won't be dog shit, if nothing else.
Hopefully. I certainly hope so. From Nintendo.com, Nintendo Switch 2, the successor to Nintendo Switch 1, will be released in 2025. Nintendo Switch 2 plays Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive games, as well as both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Asterisk. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. That was the asterisk. Go for it.
I thought the reveal trailer was decent of like what the physical model looks like. It's bigger. It's closer to the Wii U gamepad. So Scott the Woz will be happy. And the Joy-Cons are bigger, which is like my biggest gripe with the fucking Switch is I hate how small it is. So I think that's cool. The screen is obviously bigger. It also looked for a minute like they were using the Joy-Con almost as a mouse, like on a flat surface. So that's really interesting if that's trying to hint at other uses for it. The tech specs seem fine, like as an upgrade. The Switch 2 is low-key stupid, but whatever. Everything Nintendo does, the names are dumb. Definitely the fact that they did not release the list of which games will not carry over is a weird flag.
I think that is going to be like they're gonna have to go back and update OG Nintendo Switch games to fit on the newer screen, or just make it run with the black bars above and below the game. So I think it's just like trying to make people wary and understand that it's a different size screen, so it's gonna look different. It's not gonna be a perfect 1-to-1 switch.
That's fair. That's fair. And maybe the ones that they can't do immediately, they'll roll out like Xbox One did once they got their backwards compatibility program running, where they had a big front load, and then over time they just kind of chewed away at doing the back end work. And by the time like the end of that console's lifespan, I had probably 80% of 360 games and Xbox games are playable on Xbox One, and then that carries over to the series consoles as well.
You're right. I do like how much effort they put into showing the differences, and they didn't even have to really use words. They just showed you like side by side the differences. I'm nervous about the controllers and how they plug in. That looks really shady.
That it looks really, really fragile.
And especially for, the Switch, which is advertised to be kid friendly, I would really, really worry about that. It also looks like the controllers connect to the actual console differently. It kind of like pivots from the bottom and just snaps on instead of a rail system.
Yeah, I that does make me nervous because I do think the rail system does work pretty well.
Yes.
Like it can be clunky, but it's solid. Whereas this one is, it's like a little latch towards the bottom and then those little plugs, and it's like, I don't know if I'm going to trust that connection.
Yeah.
From IGN.com.
I had one more thought. Hopefully Nintendo can fix the stupid stick drift on Switch 2. Like, that should be a selling point for this new console.
That's fair. I mean, it looks like they kind of overhauled the Joy-Cons when they upsized them. Like, they have different thumbsticks as well. Yeah. So, like, it looks like they didn't just, we made it 130% the size.
Yeah.
Also, it's more black and the colors are more subtle, which is nice for me because I think the Switch is really fucking obnoxious. From IGN.com, a Ghost of Tsushima anime is in the works and set to launch exclusively on Sony-owned Crunchyroll in 2027.
Wait a second. You think the color scheme, the red and blue on a black console, is obnoxious, but you would simp over a purple cube?
Yes.
Okay, continue.
The new series, the first anime adaptation of a PlayStation Studios game, there are other ones in the works, is not only based generally on Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima, but specifically the Legends co-op multiplayer portion. It's produced in collaboration with Aniplex, the studio behind the likes of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Solo Leveling, and Sword Art Online, and is directed by Takanabu Mizuno with Jen Urabuchi from Nitro Plus on story composition and animation by Kamikaze Duga. Sony Music will serve as the strategic music and soundtrack partner for the series. Sword Art Online has garbage story, but the art is the visuals are incredible, so I'm not super worried about that. The fact that it's tying directly into the game is kind of neat. I'm wondering what they're doing with that.
I didn't touch the Legends thing at all, not 1 second of it, so I don't really know much about that. But I would think Ghost of Tsushima would translate very, very easily to an anime. I don't know. I hope this is really good.
Yeah. Also, the fact that it's not a direct adaptation speaks well. It's trying to, like with Edge Runners, it's trying to add an additional story in the world of the game. And because the games now are anthologies, I think that works really well.
Is Crunchyroll free, or is that a paid membership?
I don't remember, to be honest. I think you might be able to access it for free with a bunch of ads. It's not that expensive from what I remember. It just runs like dog shit. All of the anime-based like streaming services consolidate constantly, and because despite the fact that anime has been popular in the US for decades now, there's still difficulty with like licensing and getting X, Y, and Z thing with a dub or a sub or whatever. So like I have friends who just have like a insert anime here that you've probably heard of, and they just have a pirated version because you never know which service it's going to be on, or if they'll just drop it and you can't buy it anymore, you know. Like, it's the problem.
Friends, please. You have one friend outside of me, and we all know that he pirates anyway.
That's true. But like it's worse than the stuff we already have right now with streaming of like originals, like Max just removing their own titles without them having a physical release, and it's worse than that. So Ooh, I'm gonna cream on this one.
From Kotaku.com. What if the next Witcher game starred a vampire instead of Geralt? That's one of the selling points behind The Blood of Dawn Walker, a new RPG from some of the masterminds behind The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077. Rebel Wolves, formed in 2022 by a bunch of ex-CD Projekt Red developers, revealed the game this week in a new teaser trailer. It looks pretty legit. The first game in what the studio hopes will be an entire new RPG saga, The Blood of Dawn Walker is a narrative-driven, single-player, open-world, dark fantasy action RPG. Holy shit, are there enough descriptors on that?
Buzzwords.
It's being made in Unreal Engine 5 for PlayStation 5, Xbox X and S, and PC. The game is currently in alpha with more updates promised later in the year. That's another way of saying it probably won't be out for a while. Players will step into the shoes of a young warrior turned vampire named Cohen, who uses otherworldly powers, including teleporting around like Nightcrawler, to fight off enemies and navigate a world where monsters come in all different forms.
That reveal trailer was so fucking hype. Holy shit. Which was also made in Unreal Engine 5, so if it's any indicator of what the game's going to look like to some extent, I'm over the moon. It's also nice to hear about those people that left CD Projekt Red. I think it was right at the end of the release cycle for 2077, and then they went and they spun off their own studio, and it's like, what the fuck have they been up to? And now we know. From Kotaku.com, Ubisoft has announced that Assassin's Creed Shadows has been delayed again. The open world stealth game was set to arrive in February following its initial delay in September, but now it won't launch until March 20th. Whenever it's always like a month or two bump, that's not like a red flag. That's just the holy shit, we need to polish this thing.
Yeah.
So whatever. Also, I'm off the franchise. I'm just keeping tabs on it. So whatever.
Yeah.
Eat my balls.
I've been seeing good press on it, though. People getting some sneak peeks or whatever, like getting an hour with the game and some excitement or whatever. It's not founded on anything. It could just be, marketing strategies, but it's just been like in the background of like, hey, actually this one's pretty good. So I don't know. The only thing that's really seeming like directly appealing that isn't me just getting sucked into like, I love the aesthetic of those games, I like the concept, all that stuff, is it's actually going to be a stealth game this time. We've been missing that for years now. They've been slowly trickling it back in. And it sounds like the stealth elements work decently. So that's something. Like, give it a year after release, and I might have played it. Yeah. A month bump is nothing. That could just be like the distributor being like, oh, we forgot to order CDs this month. Just right. That's literally anything. From PCGamer.com, if you've ever thought to yourself that what you really want from life is a video game inspired by Romanian folklore, David Lynch, and heavy metal.
Rest in peace.
I knew you would. Then, wow, this is your lucky day, because the, quote, dark fantasy hack and slash adventure, end quote, called Moroi, set to launch in early 2025, claims to be exactly that. Moroi takes place within the Cosmic Engine, a personalized hellscape to which you've apparently been exiled in order to serve eternal penance for unspecified but presumably really bad misdeeds. Escape is the priority naturally. So you're telling me this is Hades? Escape is the priority naturally, and with it, the discovery of the truth and an opportunity to set things right, but that will require dealing with the cosmic engine's disturbing and grotesque inhabitants, using an array of mix-and-match weaponry, supporting both ranged and melee playstyles. Violence is the answer, as is the way with video games, but it's not the only answer. Players will also be confronted with a myriad of environmental and logic puzzles, which you'll solve by doing things like, and this is a direct quote, drinking blood, forcing regurgitation, and digging through viscera. Fun.
The trailer looked dope as fuck.
Yeah, cool.
I got introduced to games by playing Fate, the top-down dungeon crawler, which I really want to return to for the show at some point, actually, because it's been a long time, and I still own it. So like adjacent-ish to like the top-down hack and slash fantasy game, this looks like it's gonna scratch an itch. It also gives me the vibe of not going to be $60. It feels like a $40 game for some reason. That's just me and my gut. Like, I don't know. But the art style looks fantastic. And as long as it's not purely chaos and there are actual like puzzles and shit on top of it, it sounds like it could be a good time.
Oh my gosh, Fate looks jank.
Dude, that was my like first real video game.
Wow.
Nostalgia. I played it in 2008, a year after release. That was back when you could buy PC games in a store that came in a cardboard box with the jewel case.
I don't know. This trailer gave me a weird feeling of like it could just need more polish, but it could also just be an asset flip. Like, it's got some of that weird jank to it that just doesn't seem polished enough yet.
From PCGamer.com, in these busy days of live service multiplayer games, it's always good to have a few single-player shooters on your radar, and a new FPS was announced by VG Entertainment, headed up by former Stalker Call of Pripyat dev Ruslan Didenko. Forest Rains is an emergent FPS set in a post-apocalyptic Paris, not ravaged by war or radiation, but plant life. Poison Ivy is going to have a cameo in this game. The City of Light has been reclaimed by nature. Vines choke the lampposts, greenery grows up the sides of buildings, grass covers the asphalt, and a massive twisted tree trunk winds itself around Le Tower Eiffel. Mother Nature is back, and she seems pretty pissed. You're there too, with some high-tech weaponry and a few tricks to turn these sentient plants into your allies. In the gameplay trailer secured by IGN, we see a few brief firefights against enemy agents where the player uses all the invasive greenery to their advantage. It isn't just part of the environment, it is a conscious entity with its own desires and intentions. Interact with it to reveal its mysteries, use it for defeating enemies, or face its wrath as it reacts to your choices, says the Steam page. Resources are scarce, and danger is constant. Craft, scavenge, and plan ahead. Adapt to this green new world or become Natural Selection's next victim. It looks kind of trippy, like Atomic Heart meets Stalker, and the nature-ravaged city is beautifully imagined, from the Eiffel Tower to the Arc de Triomphe to several other French landmarks I probably should know the names of. This one got me really, really excited. I got bricked up. I was real hard.
Why?
Because it looked really cool, and the gameplay looks like fun, and like it's a big setting change. Like, everything is post-apocalyptic. We have our deserts, we have our like forests, we have tundras, and it's like, but what if we did overgrown city, but not just like, oh look, it's Last of Us, the cities are kind of overgrown and crumbling, but like, yeah, Mother Nature's back and she's mad. Like, I don't know. That sounds like a great fucking concept.
I liked the idea that it was kind of puzzle based too. Like, it slows down from the action seemingly and makes you explore the area a lot and try to figure out like how to move the hedge. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems weird.
It definitely seems weird, and I guess that's the primary appeal.
From Kotaku.com, as announced during Xbox latest developer direct, Doom: The Dark Ages, the next main installment in the Demon Killing franchise, is launching on May 15th for the Xbox's PlayStation 5 and PC. The newest Doom, announced last year, is a prequel to all the other games in the franchise, including 2016's Doom Semi-Reboot and 2020's Doom Eternal and its DLC. Now we get to see the Doomslayer during the wars in hell that happened eons ago in the franchise's timeline. Yes, the series has lore, it's not all super shotguns and demons. In Dark Ages, the iconic Doomslayer will face more enemies than ever before in Serious Sam-like battles in large battlefields. Thankfully, he has a dragon mount and shield saw to help even the odds, and this time around, id Software wants you to feel like a big heavy tank instead of a high-flying jet fighter. The studio really wants players to stand and fight in this entry. To help really sell the fantasy of being an unstoppable warrior, Dark Ages features 3 melee weapons with upgrades and finishers. Don't worry, there are plenty of wild medieval-themed firearms too, and yes, you get a fully drivable mech, something teased in past games. Insert, oh fuck, you're gonna make me come.
Yeah, seriously. Like, this is actually I didn't think it was going to address the criticisms or critiques that I had with the previous 2 games, minor as they are. But like proper melee gameplay for one. The thing with Eternal about the movement system was really cool and it was well done, but it just didn't tickle my brain. I know the Doom is very movement based, and this one is still pretty quick, but I do like the idea. I think in the developer direct, they specifically said, as showing off a bunch of gameplay, like the first one we wanted you to run and gun, Eternal was like fly and shoot, and this one is stand and fight. And I love that as like a marketing line as well as like a game like philosophy, basically. I don't know, it looks like it plays out really well in the gameplay. The melee options seem really cool. We see some familiar creatures, we see a lot of different ones we've never seen before. You can drive a fucking mech, you can fly on a fucking dragon. I'm gonna cream my pants so hard. I will probably just buy this on day one. I'm gonna
I think I am too. It seems conflicting because I'm pretty sure in the same video they said that circle strafing will become relevant again. And so it's not really stand and fight. I guess it's going to be more like, they mean you're not going to be flying around, you're going to be walking.
Yeah.
So you still can't stand still, but the bullet velocity for the enemies is so much slower. You're weaving in and out of bullets. I hope that it quickly becomes a bullet hell where you're like watching all of the projectiles and like trying to weave your way through all of it. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. That's
the intention.
Reminiscent of the original 2 Doom games. Played a lot more like that, and Doom 2016 did have plenty of that, but it still emphasized getting to the enemy quickly to kill them. And this one's like, yeah, you can do that quickly, or you can dodge their shit for a second, and then you can throw a fucking shield at their head and then jump to them and then rip their organs out.
I also kind of like the parry system of like hitting back anything green. It's very, very, very Cuphead. Reminiscent of Cuphead. And I think that's kind of funny, mixing those aesthetics. Yeah, this looks really, really good. They announced that there's no multiplayer, that it's just going to be a kick-ass campaign, and I'm really happy about that.
Hold on, you cut out when you said mixing.
I really like the idea of mixing those 2 aesthetics. They also announced that there's no multiplayer. It's just a kick-ass campaign. That makes me really happy. Yeah,
because the multiplayer in 2016 was weird. It was fine. It was very Halo 4-esque, and then the weird like asymmetrical multiplayer in Eternal was kind of cool, but it didn't last that long.
No, I thought
so. Just like
2016
buckling in.
was more like a Quake or something. Especially with like all the shield pickups and whatever. It was trying to be old school Quake, and it
was an arena shooter. It was okay. It just wasn't that great. And then like the asymmetrical mode is definitely a cool idea. It just doesn't hold up enough on the back end to like justify all those resources. So just pumping it into the primary game, just go, it's just you, it's just this campaign. Maybe they'll do DLC and like that. Id continues to have wonderful like consumer practices.
Yeah, that might be a present to myself when I get home from this trip. Just get Doom, take a week off from work.
Fuck yes.
When Doom Eternal came out, I pre-ordered it, and that was when times were crazy, and I didn't even know if GameStop would be open because of COVID, and it was. And it honestly, innocently worked out so that there were crazy, if you came in contact with someone with COVID, you automatically got like 2 weeks off from work. And it happened that I had 2 weeks off, and the first day of those 2 weeks was picking up my Doom Eternal pre-order.
It's also nice just to see a payoff story-wise to how much lore was dumped in Eternal. The lore is great, but the story itself wasn't amazing, whereas 2016 was pretty streamlined, but it had a really, really good story. So it's nice that they're going, instead of trying to push forward more, we should take all of that big dump of lore that we did and then fucking explain it. And then it also helps bridge the gap between the old games and the new games.
I still insist that you need to take the time to play the 2 DLCs of Doom Eternal, because it's
on my list.
Crazy, and the story gets much better.
It's on my list. Okay.
It's a big payoff.
From Kotaku.com, over a decade after Ninja Gaiden 3 first graced Xbox 360 and PS3, fans of the action franchise are finally getting a long-awaited sequel. Team Ninja and Platinum Games announced Ninja Gaiden 4 as a joint venture at the Xbox Developer Direct, where they provided a deep dive into the story, new mechanics, and updated combat. The sequel puts players in the shoes of a new hero, Yakumo, who will battle enemies in an apocalyptic-looking Tokyo ravaged by a demonic reign of dark rot. Series mainstay Ryu Hayabusa will still make an appearance, however, and Team Ninja confirmed he'll play a pivotal role in the larger story. The game is coming sometime in fall 2025 and will be on Xbox Game Pass Day 1 on both the series consoles and PC, and it will be available to play on PS5 and Steam. The trailer was very good. I haven't played Ninja Gaiden 3 in like 5 years, but that game is such a good time.
I have never touched this series. I don't know anything about it. If I had to describe this trailer, I would say it's the Sekiro of Devil May Cry.
That's what I was thinking. That is a really good way to put it, actually.
Which is funny because Devil May Cry is made by Platinum, I'm pretty sure. So.
I think so. Yeah. It looks good. It has a good art style. It's always nice when like you move, not like legacy characters, but a series knows when to pick a new protagonist, especially when it's been gone for so long. And it's like the other guy's around and clearly really relevant to the story, but let's just make a new guy. It gives it's a nice jumping on point for someone who hasn't played it. So you should probably get this. You'll probably fuck with it. I'm gonna get it.
I don't know. It looked like it had a lot of Ghost Runner in it too, of like platforming and not really speed running in this game, but the platforming especially. It's just like ninjas can do some pretty crazy shit, and I really struggle with that kind of movement system. Like Titanfall 2, I guess I could do okay enough, but I never like felt like I mastered it. and I don't know what I'm trying to say. Platinum Games, I kind of suck at, like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta and all those. I always feel like I can't get over the hump, so I don't think I really will get this game, but it does look really, really good.
And then at your behest, moving forward, we just have a monthly shout out to some high profile games that are coming out in the coming months. If you want to just list them off for us, bucko.
I don't really want to go through all of them. I just want to do some big shout outs. So like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is coming out February 4th.
That one's a big hype for me because Kingdom Come Deliverance was fucking awesome.
Yeah, Civilization 7, I don't really care about. I don't think I've played any of those, but that comes out and it's going to make some waves probably.
The second Tomb Raider trilogy remaster for 4, 5, and 6 is coming out as well.
That's pretty exciting.
Avowed is like, I think, the big one for like pop cultural relevance because that's continuing to look really, really good. And also, finally, some fucking some Xbox exclusives.
Yet another Yakuza Like a Dragon bullshittery. Monster Hunter Wilds is going to make some waves February 28th. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I didn't know about this. I didn't know about this at all. Lost Records Bloom and Rage is another one of those Spencer games. It's published by Don't Nod. It looks like yeah. It's an adventure game. It's going to be a walking sim. Let's fucking go.
That's nice.
Congratulations. You wanted to do shout outs, and now there's a new game on my list I didn't know about.
That's what I was just about to say, is like there's nothing on this list that's going to make me run out and buy it day one, but I think it will be a good part of the news section for anybody listening to be like, oh shit, my pre-order of that game is finally coming out. I need to remember to go pick it up or whatever. So it'll be good.
You know what could have been good? Hitman from 2007.
Yeah.
I think I like this one more than you do. Give me some highlights.
The letterboxed summary is a genetically engineered assassin with deadly aim known only as Agent 47 eliminates strategic targets for a top secret organization. But when he's double-crossed, the hunter becomes the prey as 47 finds himself in a life or death game of international intrigue. It's very forgettable.
Yeah. I think Timothy Oliphant as Agent 47 was pretty good. I'm not sure if he's necessarily the person I would cast for this role, but I do think he did a pretty good job.
He did well with what he was given. It's hard to critique a movie about Agent 47 because I'm pretty sure he's nonverbal in like all of the games. He doesn't even give like sassy one-liners as he's making kills or anything. He sits down for a briefing, he goes and kills and doesn't say a word. So it's hard to have, an hour and a half, 2 hours of movie where your main character doesn't talk. I think it could be done, but it makes for any dialogue that he has to be awkward because it's like, would he really say that on everything?
Yeah. I think the plot that they came up with, while a little convoluted and I got a little lost in it, was actually a decent idea for how to give this guy a story for us to like care about watching, like him being double crossed by the client and how it plays between different like government agencies. I thought was pretty cool. It didn't say anything, which is always my gripe.
Yeah, when it does that thought.
When it does beans but then doesn't do beans. But I thought that like as a plot was pretty decent. Some of the shootouts were solid. None of them were bad.
It didn't have, as far as I can remember, I watched this last week and I literally don't remember much of it. It didn't have any crazy or fun kills, really. Like there was one scene where Agent 47 poisons a dude, and the dude feels sick, and he goes to the bathroom, and Agent 47 goes to the bathroom at the same time and then kills him, which is pretty standard Hitman stuff. But besides that, there's no like throwing a frying pan at a guy. There's no convoluted like drop a chandelier on a guy and make it look like an accident. It didn't have the pizzazz that a Hitman game has. And to be fair, this movie came out before the last three, big open world, go anywhere, do anything. I played those first two games. I didn't play the third one in this last trilogy, and I haven't played anything before that. I've only played the two. But of what I know about the series, it still has that zip, that little
panache.
Yes, of like video gamey. You can do some pretty crazy out of the box kills, and you get style points for it because that's like stylish for a Hitman to make it seem like natural causes and not he got shot with a fucking sniper rifle every single time.
Yeah. There was one action sequence that I did really like, and it was the four Hitman against all of each other fight in the subway. Like, if that was done now, that would be done by like the John Wick team of what is that?
Yeah. John Woo.
No, the company name. Whatever. That like it's a particular production company that does a lot of those type of action movies these days. They're really blowing up, which is great because they're fucking awesome. Like it would be done completely different, but for like the mid 2000s shaky cam action scenes, I thought it played out pretty fun. Like I had a good time with that.
It was interesting that they chose to have 47 kind of be sexless. Like he's paired up with somebody which I didn't even think fit naturally in the story anyway. It wasn't like a cliche, you need to come with me if you want to live. It was kind of trash. But after several days of being on this road trip with him, she flat out offers him, and he drugs her and then leaves her alone because he doesn't want to do the do. And I'm pretty sure in some of the older games he is like a womanizer. So I don't know. It was an interesting choice that I just thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, I kind of liked that dynamic. It was clunky plot. We need to have him have a side character come along with him or whatever.
Yep.
But I did like the back and forth between the two of them for the most part. And I think that was I think what they were trying to go for was him finally getting even remotely attached to somebody like he's been trained not to. So thusly, like he helps her get a new life by the end of the movie and gets himself out of the situation he's in, which
this only triggered your John Halo brain. Don't lie.
A little bit. Yeah, it's true. I was really hoping that the rivalry with like the primary Interpol agent who's going after him would be like a good driving force, because the guy who's trying to get the ghost who no one can find, like that's a great trope, but it just didn't do much for me. I actually forgot that the movie was all framed with like bookends. Like during the runtime, I completely forgot that the whole thing is just replaying over their exchange. But yeah, I believe I gave it 2 stars out of 5. It is below Sonic 1 and above Warcraft.
Hold, please.
It's in that spot where like I wouldn't complain if it was on, but I have no intention of going back.
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It's technically a movie. I put it under Super Mario Brothers and above Warcraft.
Yeah, that's close. Super Mario, I think, is like two steps above on my list. So, yeah, it was there. It wasn't painful. That's the weird thing with like the like 2000s era of video game movies is either they're like the most mid thing ever, or they're abysmal.
Yeah.
Like you have Max Payne, and then you have this, are like the two genders of video game movies. And now we have fucking goated ass prestige TV or Borderlands. Like that, now there's no in between either. They're just two very different ends of the spectrum.
Another complaint I had, you know how if you watch something on a TV with no sound system, no soundbar, anything, the sound levels are jacked, and it's like the music is crazy loud and you can't hear anybody talking. I had that with headphones on, like watching on my phone. It was so poorly jacked. It was very frustrating.
Strange.
So I'm willing to bet it was a movie problem, not format, how I was watching it problem.
Yeah, I watched it on my laptop, and I think I had a level of that as well. I had to keep adjusting the volume, and I'm not one to be like adjusting the volume because like an action scene's loud. I hate people that do that, but it was enough where I'm like, that's way too loud, and then like, and the dialogue's way too low. So,
yes.
just equalize that shit. You can make it all loud. Like that's fine. It's not that it's too loud. It's just you got to bring up the mids. Speaking of mid, what did you play this month?
Wow.
Did I call it?
No.
Damn it.
Uncharted 2 Among Thieves was developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony originally on the PlayStation 3 in October of 2009, 2 years after the first game. The story recap, ripped right from the fandom, reads, set 2 years after the events of Drake's Fortune Among Thieves. Set 2 years after the events of Drake's Fortune Among Thieves follows Nathan Drake and Chloe Fraser as they search for the entrance to the lost city of Shambhala and the fabled Chintamani Stone in a race against Serbian war criminal Zoran Lazarevic and his army of mercenaries. The game starts with one of the most memorable set pieces ever. Nate comes to hanging from a train that is hanging from a cliff, and he has to climb the train quickly before it slides off the cliff. It's all I could think of during the last Mission Impossible movie when they basically do the exact same stunt. It's a really fun, intense set piece. After introducing the plot and the characters, there are several backstabs that keep you, the player, always guessing how long Nate's friends will stay his friends before betraying him for their own selfish interests, thus the game's subtitle. Elena is not included for a good bit of the game. Instead, Nate is chummy with Chloe. A sex scene is definitely implied. While I don't mind the idea that Nate is a man slut, a la Indiana Jones, I really like his relationship with Elena and how it matures over the end of this game and the rest of the series. I also really appreciate the visuals of this game. Set mostly in Tibet, there's a lot of snow and ice, which is very different from the jungle setting of the last game. There are vivid colors in a lot of the levels, from the paint on the architecture or just colorful signs and flags. This game is really vivid, and I really like it. The camera controls are better in this game. The reticle is much easier to guess the placement of when switching from over Nate's shoulder to aiming, making quick scoping easier than the last game. Admittedly, character models do look better, but I think Nate's face looks kind of doughy, kind of consistently. Besides that, the normal animations of running and climbing and shooting are a lot smoother than the janky ones in the last game. For sound design, voice acting is top-notch again. Chloe's voice actress, Claudia Black, is great for a new character. While we don't see Chloe again until The Lost Legacy, which is Uncharted 4's weird spin-off DLC sort of game, it's really cool that it was the same voice actress almost 10 years later. Sully gets sidelined in this game, which I didn't remember and I found kind of weird. He's just like, nah, this is too wild for me, fam, and just disappears. I don't know what was up with that. I didn't find anything behind the scenes, but he's hardly in it, which is too bad because I really like his voice. Guns sound cool, blah, blah, blah. Partially because I'm in an apartment complex and also because I'm playing at 1 in the morning. I had to turn the volume down during big action scenes because the gunfire felt really loud. I don't think it's an actual volume thing. It could just be my special audio sensitive brain, but the gunfights felt loud and oppressive. Not a negative or positive, just part of my experience. The music in this game is just as amazing and recognizable as the first game. It's exciting and also unique to this game, I think, because of its setting. Tibet makes this game so distinct from other games in the series, and the music really helps distinguish this game. Gameplay. This game is slightly longer than the first game. There's a couple more chapters, and they seem a bit longer as well. This game feels less repetitive. The first game had 2 or 3 levels where Nate and Elena are on a water ski driving through some ruins, and then they would get off and shoot some bad guys and find a thing, and then get back on the water ski. The only repetitive thing in this game is the train climbing sequence. The game starts there and then goes back in time to catch us up and then hits us with so that's the story so far. But the train climb is shortened down a lot, so we don't actually do the same climb twice. Kind of an eye roll to chop the story up like that, but they make the second part much shorter than the original climb, so it's all good. It's almost exactly the same trophy list. I think there's a couple extras. Like there's a challenge to kill so many bad guys in a row with just one punch. So you have to shoot them 5 times with the crappy pistol and then punch them once and kill them. I think there's an extra one of those, like small things like that. There's a couple extra get so many kills with this weapon because there are new weapons in this game. And then the list of treasures that you find in game is longer, and they simplified those down to every 20 treasures that you find you get a trophy. But because there's more treasures, there's more trophies. Climbing feels a lot better. It's less janky. I felt like I didn't have to mash the X button to continue grabbing each and every single ledge. Nate smoothly grabbed edges if I pushed the left stick in the direction most of the time. Like I was saying, there's a couple of extra weapons. Kind of a weird side tangent, but it's a big point of the game that Nate can't speak the language. And as I was thinking about it, there's a lot of subtle storytelling in the background. There's one level where Nate is being chased through a town by a tank, and there are mostly women in big heavy robes fighting the soldiers outside of the tank, alongside the tank. A lot of Tibet feels mysterious because Nate doesn't know much about the area or the culture or the language. In that level, the locals are using crossbows that are a one-shot kill that are pretty sweet. But there's no explanation. It's just there, and you run through the level and you kind of don't even really think about it. It was kind of weird. While the first game had a couple set pieces, they kind of felt limited, like watching a truck roll up with a machine gunner on the back and then figuring out how to fight around the machine gun to get behind him and stop him. There's another one where it's like a platforming puzzle where you get to the top and you push a rock off the cliff and you break the floor, and then that's the tomb that you have to go explore. This game focuses on the set pieces a lot more. They feel bigger and more bombastic. There are 2 different fights with an armed helicopter, and they feel distinct from each other. One is on a rooftop, and the other is at the end of a long train level. I should clarify set pieces. I don't just mean firefights. There are also really big tombs to explore and platforming around to progress. While Uncharted 1 did have those, Uncharted 2 makes those seem boring in comparison. There's a weird 6-armed idol that Nate needs to move the arms to unlock the next room, and they have to be in a certain way. It's not just like move every arm, it's like get the right pattern. There's a giant cavern outside of a tomb where Nate has to climb gigantic gears and bells, maybe, to get across the big space. It just feels bigger and better crafted. In closing, I was surprised to find the reception of this game when it was first released. It got 9.5 and 10 out of 10s across the board from all the big video game outlets. It's incredible to me to go through this series again because I'm confident. My initial reaction was that the series gets better with every entry. So far in this review series, Uncharted 2 is definitely better than the first, which is already pretty great. I don't think I could give it a 9.5 out of 10, but it's definitely another great game in a fantastic series.
We love to hear a man slut winning.
I knew you would like that.
Speaking of man sluts, next month for this show, we will be watching Doom from 2005, the one with The Rock.
Yes.
Low-key, we should try to do a watch party through the computer for that, because that'll be a hoot.
Oh no, not another drunken watch of a shitty video game movie.
No. And I am going...
I thought of that as I was looking up my Letterboxd account because Sonic 1 only got 2.5 stars despite the fun drunken watching.
Yeah, the drunken watching really helped. And I've gotten softer on that movie since I've had to watch it at my job so much. It still isn't my jam, but I have come to appreciate it a good bit. 2 is still pretty damn solid, and apparently 3 is really good. So it is cool that there is just a mainstream accepted good series / franchise or whatever for video game adaptations or whatever. Also kid friendly ones. Yes. My game for next month is a random one. I'm taking a break from doing Borderlands because I realized I needed more space between those games. Otherwise, I was going to go fucking insane. So instead of every other month doing a Borderlands, it's every 2 months or every 3, whatever. There's two other games between them. I am going to be reviewing Amnesia Rebirth.
Oh, no.
What's oh no about it?
You're playing Amnesia?
Yeah.
You're gonna need Depends for every time you piss yourself.
I'm already a couple of hours in and I'm having a great time, and I'm playing it on a PC, so you should be proud of me.
Is that the one before? Which one is that? Is that
It's the third one. The fourth one just came out. They're all anthologies. They're just very loosely related. There's also a series that the same publisher did earlier in the early 2000s that's very similar, where the groundwork was laid. But yeah, there's 4. The fourth one I believe came out last year. So it's just one that I saw that was on sale. I bought it for my Xbox, but because of crossplay, I was like, you know what? I should play this stealth game on my PC. This would be fun and a different experience. And I had to fuck with the settings a decent amount to get it to run correctly, but that's a me problem. So wait,
it's only a stealth game. It's not part of the super scary series.
No, it's a stealth horror. It is a horror stealth, slow walking lore game. Whatever. It's a horror series, but depending on how you play, the horror can be minimized. So I thought, fuck it, let's play a game on PC. So I just had to take the first 30 minutes to get the settings right, so the game would look the way it needed to, but then not make my laptop explode.
I gotcha. Because it's it's the Dark Descent, and then something War Pigs, and then this one, and then last year's, which is you're stuck in the World War One. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I did my Wikipedia rabbit hole.
The hole in the ground, the tunnels. What are those called?
Trenches.
Thank you.
So depending on how this goes, I'll probably play all of them. I put them all on my Steam wish list. Depending on how this goes as playing it on PC, I can play it on console, but if I pick the series and I start on a PC and it goes okay, like I'll just switch to doing this one on PC.
This is so weird because I'm pretty sure The Dark Descent is like everybody's listicle top 10 scariest video games. Good luck.
So far, like it's very spooky. The environments are good. Like I haven't gotten to the part where the horror really kicks in yet, but I'm having a good time. And I'm actually using keyboard and mouse too. Later tonight, I might try to play it with a controller through my PC just to see how different it feels. But you know, I'm trying to expand my horizons by playing the exact same type of game I play, but on a different type of thing. Do you know what you're going to be doing for next month?
Yes, and you do too.
Are you going to tell me?
I'm going to review Kingdom Hearts 1.5, the final mix. Holy shit, it's really the last one, guys.
Hell yeah. I love having shit planned out. Look at us go.
I know.
We're adults. After it took a week delay to record this episode, we're adults now.
And I'm already done with my game. I just need to rate my review. I have a whole month to catch up on other things and write a review. I'm so excited.
Hell yeah, brother. So a big shout out to our patrons over at patreon.com/dimecomicbros network. Caitlin and Jeff Lawrence give us money, and we appreciate the money. It helps us keep the lights on, and it helps me keep...
That makes us man-sluts because they pay us for favors.
They do. They pay for my depends after I play horror games, and then I give them the depends back when they're used. I'm
it's like the whole bathwater scam, but different.
Exactly. They help keep the lights on or off for me while playing a horror game. If you want to give this show financial support or any of our other endeavors, it would be greatly appreciated. On Patreon, we do have a bunch of different tiers. Three tiers, actually. $1, $5, and $15 gives you early access to episodes, exclusive access to happy hour episodes where we rant and rave about literally anything. It could be more games or movies or comics, or it could be our dating lives, or it could be booze. You never know. As well as a bunch of cool stickers that are all designed by our buddy Colin, who is on our main show sometimes, Dime Comic Bros, as well as getting your name shouted out and some other cool, fun benefits. So go check that out. Also, a thank you to our partners at Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. They've been my local comic shop for my entire life, I think, since like Free Comic Book Day in 2008 or 9, when I went to said Free Comic Book Day in my bathrobe with a cardboard lightsaber, because of course. Try to shop local. It's great, especially niche stores. Jetpack is one of the best ones around. That's not just because we're biased, but genuinely for a comic shop, they are extremely well rated, really knowledgeable, really great people that work there. Wide variety of comics, graphic novels, manga. They have some video games. They have a pinball machine. They have Marvel versus Capcom arcade cabinet, posters, merchandise, Funko Pops, the usual. Sometimes they have some weird Japanese snacks. You know how it is. So go support them if you are able. And tune in next month for the previously listed items.